Well, I think first and foremost, the special teams was the biggest difference in our game this past week. Obviously, offensively, we weren't real sharp, especially in the first half. Defensively, we weren't real sharp. Just didn't tackle well, didn't leverage the football defensively. Offensively, the first half just, starting off first and 15 or first and 20 in the first 3 drives, really make it difficult to get things going. But all in all, our special teams is the reason why we're in a position we're still in right now, and gave us an opportunity to win a football game. Not just the last second field goal, but 6 explosive plays throughout the game compared to their 1. Obviously, we made 2 field goals. They missed 4, which is a huge deal. But we put our hand on another punt that really helped change the momentum. Kickoff return back out to the 50-yard line, which then in return got us an opportunity to score. So a lot of things had to fall in place in that second half for us to find a little mojo and find a little energy, shift things around, and get us down to a situation where we could win a football game, and it did. And then it came down to the last drive. Obviously, offensively was really, really good, and then to put us in there in a situation to make a 30-some-yard field goal to win a game for the second time for Sam Crosa is something we haven't had here, I think, in the first 2 years. His ability to have some confidence and getting us to that point in that situation, and it's really worked for us this year. So we got to get better. We got to play a lot better. We got to play a lot cleaner in both phases, offensively and defensively, and we need to continue to generate and create a lot of energy and momentum and havoc even on our special teams.
You said when you got here that special teams was going to be a focus. It's taken a little bit of time. Does it feel like in every phase of special teams now that you guys are trying to?
What do you mean it's taking a little time? Can you elaborate on what you mean by that?
Yeah, you're more explosive now in the punt return and kick return.
We've done a much better job. I think it becomes a little bit more evident because we've been pretty good in punts since we've been here. We've got this guy that's been pretty good. He's been here for 3 years. He's not bad. But I think overall, when you're making field goals and points are going on the board, I think it's a lot more obvious. I do believe that this year, for the first time, I think we've got some guys back there that are returning kicks, whether punts or kickoffs, that give us an opportunity. I think a great example was last week's game. They were very good on the kickoff return, and we were worried all week. We kind of challenged our guys. We didn't have a kickoff in the first half, but the opening kickoff of the second half, we hit the ball on the 12-yard line. After that, every one they fair caught. They had not done that all year. Where we obviously got one hit on the 10-yard line, but still believed and had confidence in our guys. Say, look, man, we're going to get more opportunities. We're not going to win this football game sitting back, playing passive, maybe fair catching it. We got to make them create something, and got the confidence in those guys to allow them to keep taking shots at it. So I think with that, obviously becomes more obvious, but it's still the continuation of some really good football players that we put on special teams too.
Does Trey have a green light every time?
I'm not sure that he's like a 3-0. Hey, 3 balls, no strikes, you got the green light. But we have a lot of confidence in him and what he can do, but also in those guys up front. I mean, when you look at it, he obviously has to make things happen. But when we can get body on body and those guys strain up front, it's going to give him some of those opportunities. Sometimes you just got to figure out where you are. I mean, there's a few games ECU, the ball 6-7 yards deep. I don't know if we got the green light for there just yet.
What's Dez's health situation? I know you talked about it yesterday, but do you have an idea of how he looks?
He looks good. I don't know what his shoulder is, but he looks good. Came walking, bouncing around in here, and we'll go out today and he'll throw the ball around and see how he really feels. And we got enough respect for Dez to make sure that Dez communicates with us. I think that's kind of the message that we got from that game last week, that he's done a lot of really good things for us. We got incredible amount of confidence in him, not just to play, but also to be, honest with us and upfront with us to say, hey, no matter what, we got to put this team in a situation, the best situation, to be successful. We want that to be you, but you got to be honest with us. If it doesn't happen to be you, then you got to tell us. And I believe he would, but for right now, no. He says he feels good. He'll be out there running around, throwing it around today, and we'll see how he feels. Probably more so in the morning.
Do you attribute the struggles in the passing game to an injury, or is it something different?
No, you got to give them some credit. They did a good job. I think sometimes the trouble can be, when you're first and 15 or first and 20, it makes it a little bit easier on the defense. Hey, let's maybe play a little more pass coverage here and make them earn some things. So I think all of it kind of comes together. Yes, it's a confidence level. Yes, it's some, consistency with, developing the relationships with some of those guys. But it's also making sure that we get them in a situation where they don't exactly have a, 80% or 75% chance of saying, hey, they're going to throw the football here because they're way behind the stick. So that's the whole group. That's special teams as well. We'd give them the ball, offensive ball on the 10-yard line. You don't give yourself a whole lot of freedoms to, to open it up a little bit more. So it's not just one thing. It's not just one guy, but there's a combination of a lot of things.
Would it be accurate to say that given all the offensive line shuffle, that pass blocking would maybe be more difficult to be consistent with run blocking?
Well, and then last week in particular, they were, even on first and second down, was a team that really kind of moved around a lot, gave you a lot of different looks. So they did a good job at making it difficult, not just that their front four, their front seven were, probably better football players maybe than we had seen the week before, or maybe even the week before that. But I think that, that all comes together with the confidence, not just the confidence in the wide receivers, but also the confidence to, be able to go back there and make your progressions because, you know what you're seeing and you believe in what guys up front are seeing. And when you got a little bit of misbelief or whatever, like, hey, I thought I saw this as a pass pro or on a coverage, I'm sure he's probably thinking in the back of his head, if I thought I saw that, I'm sure the offensive line thought they saw that too. And maybe a little bit of a confusion at where the pressure's coming from. So it's like I said, again, it's always going to be some version of a combination from what they did and a good job that they did down to what we need to do.
Does Warren, the success he's had the previous 3 weeks, does that go back to maybe saving him to allow him to play his best football in the stretch run?
I don't know if I'd ever say saving. That's a philosophy. We wanted to have it. We wanted to have it last year. We just didn't work last year. He had carried the ball on average maybe 30 sometimes a game for about 5 games. This year, he's maybe had a little bit dinged up at some point in time, but the ability to have Jared Dokes back there with the utmost confidence and have some of the games he's had, it's given us the ability to have kind of a much greater balance in what we're doing, a two-headed monster, so to speak, that hopefully votes well for you down the stretch because they're not averaging 25, 30 carries a game that they can play their best ball here in the last few weeks.
Whatever USF was able to do to confuse, whether it was the entire offense or defensively, obviously Temple's going to watch and probably try and learn from that. What can you guys do this week to prevent that from happening?
Well, I just think it's being clear. I think we got to put it on us as coaches too. That we got to make some better in-game adjustments and help guys out. I felt the same way defensively a little bit. We didn't do our best job at some recognitions of some things, and it's in our pass coverage defensively, and then probably in what they're doing offensively, or what they were doing defensively against us, to give those guys a little more confidence, give them a chance to take some shots. If they took away our original shot, hey, where do we have to take some of these shots at? What can we do? I don't want to just put it on anybody's shoulders and not to say, well, it's just a combination of the offensive line, the situation we're in, as well as the coverage they're playing. No, it's also on us as coaches to say, okay, hey, they've changed up a little bit. They're taking this away. We need to have an opportunity to take some shots at this. That's where the whole balance of everything comes together. And, that's where you gain a little bit more confidence in each other to be able to make some of those in-game changes. I think I explained it as good as anything to our team on Sunday as well. We blocked a punt on Saturday that really was a big deal, and that wasn't by us doing something different really. It was actually a kid coming off the field to say, okay, here's what we've been doing, here's where we're attacking. I believe if I get myself to the other side based on man side, zone sides, I have an opportunity to stay away from the guys trying to block me, do this, and I can put my hand on a punt. There's an in-game change by a kid and a coach that gave us an opportunity to be really successable. What's that?
Was that Wilson?
That was Wilson Huber, yeah, that a guy that understands what and whys, and you have a chance on the side to make some adjustments and some corrections, and I'm not saying corrections, but adjustments to give us a better opportunity to make some of those plays. And I think that we got to continue, as an offense and defense as we progress, to be able to do those things.
In the past, has it been Temple's physicality that's giving you guys problems when you play them, or is there something else that?
Gosh, it's hard to really say from 2 years ago. It's all a blur. Last year, I think I don't think we started off real well. I think, we turned the ball over, put ourselves in a little bit of situation. I don't know that they ran the ball great on us last year, to be honest with you. I think they do a good job up front, both offensively and defensively now. But I don't know that I would say it's the physicality. I think last year they hit us some big plays in the passing game late, or at least in the last drive and then in overtime. But they're a physical group. I mean, it's one of those ones you can look in the mirror and say, okay, they do a lot of things in similar ways than we do.
You had a game like that, is that, we were talking about the game, you guys didn't have that loss yet, tough loss in overtime, is that for these guys, get them a year later?
Well, I'm sure. I mean, they know what it's all about. They got an opportunity, too, to be in this race as well. So I don't know that they need a whole lot of fuel for the fire. I'm not sure they're going to look back at last year and say anything or get anything from that other than just what the situation is right now. With a new crew, with a new coaching staff that, has put themselves in a really good situation and position in our league as well. So there's some of those games where you don't need a whole lot of narrative to get guys going. I think that's probably for both sides of the ball here.
How do you approach the narrative of you guys win this game, clinch spot with the conference title?
It's one of those things that we understand. I don't think that we'll sit back and talk about it. I think that we always talk about as the pressures, as the games get larger and bigger, there's certain things that you got to do. And it doesn't mean that you got to practice longer. Doesn't mean that you got to hit more. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden you need some energy boost. No, it means there's some really fundamental things that you got to rely upon and do, and not lose focus on those little things, because the more it means, the higher the stakes, the higher the pressure, sometimes the out of characteristic you can get, and we can't allow that to happen to us.
Will the weather conditions on Saturday, looks like it's going to be a little cold, maybe a little snow, will that impact how you game plan for Temple?
No.
You talked about Dez kind of earning that responsibility to be able to say, I'm good enough to go or I'm not. Is that a general philosophy of you, or is that somebody like Dez specific?
Well, I think Dez in particular, there's a lot of guys like that. I think the week before, at halftime, I had asked, Jarrell White. He had a twisted ankle, and I said, you got to be honest with me now, and just where you are and what you can do. I don't want to put a guy in harm's way, and I don't want to put him out there when it's not the best opportunity, the best thing for the team. And there's a lot of people you got to rely upon. Yes, we can make some decisions. It's not like, I think, Major League Baseball, where you got the 12-year NFL vet guy who's on the mound, and of course he doesn't want to give the ball up in the ninth inning. And somebody's got to make a greater decision. Yes, we have to make some of those decisions as well. But I like to make sure that we're, getting a good feedback from those guys. And when you've got a relationship like that, which I believe is really important, then you can sense it and you can see it even more so than the guys say, hey, take me out.
Watching Temple on tape over the past couple of days, is there D-line shooters in this league yet?
Yeah. Along with their linebackers a little bit too, along with their wide receivers. And their running game. So I'm not sure I'm going to get a whole lot of sleep, but no, I think, like I said, I think you look in the mirror, it's a very similar type of group. They're very physical. They're really good up front, both D-line and O-line, and that's what it's going to come down to. I mean, it's why it's when you're playing for high stakes, it's not going to be easy.
I think you started 6 combinations on that offensive line through 10 games. Does it feel like even though they're still moving around, does it feel like they've matured to the part of 11 games in and improving?
I believe so. I think when you can see it, struggle maybe in the first half and have some emotions and ups and downs, and then come out the second half and play the way they did, I think you're seeing that growth, the ability to make some change, the ability to communicate a little bit better based on what they're seeing. So that has a lot to do with it. Well, we have not been in this situation, so I'm not going to say that. Well, I've learned a lot from being in these championship runs, but I think that our ability to rely on our kids a little bit more as a coach when you first come in, whether you're a first-year head coach or in a new program, when you don't know the people around you as well, I think it's really difficult to make some of those decisions. That's why, you talk about, hey, do you give a guy freedom to say when he can and can't go? Well, no, you don't always do that, but I think as you get deeper into the program for the way that we do things, the better relationships you have with those guys, the more you can be honest with them, the more they can be honest with you. You can read a lot more things. So I think your ability to maintain a consistency as a coach and as a program, I think allows everybody to grow. And I think that's, the beauty of, having some time, not just at a program, but with guys in relationships that have grown a long way in 3 years.
Along with approaching 5 to 20 for a title this week in the division, how do you juggle that with it being senior day and these guys' last game in Nippert Stadium for their careers?
That's one thing that I've been a part of a lot, and whether it was a playing career or 16 or so years, I've had a lot of senior days that, hey, this comes down to, it's not just about the seniors, but this is playing for a championship. So there's a balance. I mean, we want to honor and we want to recognize our seniors first and foremost, but once that 6 minutes is over, it has nothing to do with any one guy in particular. It has nothing to do with one group of guys. It has to do with 10 units and 100 and some guys that are going to have to do whatever they can to get this thing done.
Does playing for a championship give them more motivation to go out there and win?
Again, based on how you're built, this isn't, hey, we're only get up because it's a championship game. I hope that's not how we're built. Does it throw a little bit more on it? Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I think that's where you've got to be smart about what it is you're doing too, of making sure the higher the stakes are, the calmer you can prepare to focus on the little things that really matter.
Moj missed the start of the season with some injury. I know he seemed to be looking pretty good camp before that. What has he done? He clearly has Dez's eye and trust when he's out there. What has he done to earn that
Consistency. I think he's a guy that goes out every day. He'll go out here today on a Tuesday and work his butt off. That's what you kind of saw for him or from him in camp. Last year he didn't get as many of those opportunities, but he never had a bad attitude. He always worked at it. He was just raw and young. He's still a little bit young in the sense that he hasn't played a ton of football, but he goes out every single day and works. And when guys do that, they not only earn the respect of the guys around them, they earn the respect of the coaches, and just things happen to go their way a little bit more.
That third down catch on the end drive, is that this offseason he was working? Is that the kind of stuff you expected from him?
That's what we were hoping. I mean, I know that going into the season in the fall camp, it wasn't just those kinds of things. It was some big plays down the field with his size. But I think that in order to throw that ball right there, it shows you that the confidence level, not just in him, that the quarterback has, but also for the offense to call it. I'm not saying it was guaranteed to go to him, but for them to believe what they're seeing and deliver the ball, there's a lot of growth there.